Welcome back to the Catalyst of Development podcast. We got a special edition today, our Valentine's Day edition. This is why I have this lovely young lady sitting next to me. For those that don't know, this is my wife, Sherry. We call her Queen or Queen Bee. She is the mastermind behind all of this, all the editing of the videos, everything that you see. She's the brains behind the operation. I like to say that I'm just the pretty face. But without further ado, please allow me to let my beautiful wife introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sherry, and he is right. I am the brains behind everything. Behind everything.
Probably.
Right?
Probably.
So we posted this on social media, and we're really excited about this because this is actually our first collaboration.
It is. It is.
And my first time on his channel. So I'm really excited, and yeah. Are you ready to get into the questions?
Why not? Do you want to tell them a little bit about your channel before we start, though?
Oh, yeah. So actually, my channel is called Sherry Lee on YouTube. On Instagram is Sherry Lee Plans. But majority of the things that I do on there is lifestyle, organization. To be honest with you, anything that I enjoy. Nails, hair, makeup. Mostly planning right now, but I do intend to venture down other paths. Hence the reason why we're doing this video.
True. And when she says lifestyle planning, that's honestly what she means. A little bit about us. Together we have 4 amazing children. We only really like one of them at a time, give or take.
On a good day.
Yeah, on a good day. So if anybody's looking for some, I got some really cheap, free 99. You can have them. But honestly, what it boils down to is she keeps her planning and her methods of planning keep our lives in order. We're extremely busy. Which we'll allude to in some of the answers of these questions. But 4 kids, all of them in some form of activities, so we're all over the place. But I'm excited to dive into some of the questions. You ready to go?
Let's go.
All right, no holds barred.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started on the questions. Jason?
First question from Facebook comes from Sarada Hardesty, who asks, what was your funniest fight and who won?
Ooh. This is tough. You answer this one first because I got to think.
Not tough for me. I like to scare my wife. I like to make loud noises. I like to jump out from corners, right? I'm a little guy, so it's super easy for me to hide. So she gets rather irritated when I do this. I usually make very loud noises. I'm not going to make them now because I don't want to blow your eardrums out. But let's just say irritated is probably an understatement. Well, one day I walked into the kitchen while my lovely, beautiful wife, who never gets upset about anything, was cooking, and I made one of my famous loud noises. At which time she freaked out, grunted and screamed, and she was preparing chicken. At that moment, something took over this body. She turned and maybe out of fear, chucked a half-frozen chicken breast in my direction. Said chicken breast flew across the air with the greatest of ease, almost like it was aerodynamic, and smacked me square in the face. There are not many times in my life where I'm speechless. This would be one of those times. I looked at her. I looked down at the chicken breast that was now resting on our floor, shook my head, and walked back upstairs to the room. Now, who won? I'm going to say the damn chicken breast won.
Especially because I washed it and then cooked it and fed you with it.
That's some bull. I'm going to try to keep this PG. Are you kidding me right now?
No, not at all.
Nice.
So I'd say the chicken won, but really you'd say I won? Yes.
It's debatable. We'll save that one for another video.
Actually, my story is really along the lines, it's the same thing. So, as Jason already told you, he loves to scare me. And again, I was in the kitchen. Something about kitchens you got a thing with.
Maybe.
And he he makes this loud noise, almost kind of sounds like a siren, and scared the mess out of me. So I turned around and did this. No, actually, I screamed really loud in your face.
Like right here. like right here.
And he just stood there, didn't know what to do, and then he just walked away. So if you can't beat him, join him.
I'm seeing there's kind of an MO between or with these fights, right? I'll do something out of what I think is fun and excitement and a little bit of love. She freaks out. I don't know how to react. Tuck tail and walk away.
Pretty much.
That's kind of how that works.
So I'd like to say 2 for me, 0 for you.
I'm still going with the chicken on the first one.
All right. So the next question Sarita asked was, what's each of your individual favorite memory together?
All right. I went first last time. Go.
Oh, that's tough. We've had a lot of great...
I got one that's already popped up into my head, and here she is thinking.
That is tough. We have done a lot of great things together.
Name 3.
The first cruise, the second cruise,
all cruises.
I will say though, my favorite day has to be, and I know this kind of sounds a little cheesy, our wedding day. Our wedding day, we actually did a lot of things together. Actually,
which wedding day? The one in Montana?
First of all, we weren't even there for that one.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day. So Jason and I actually did all of the planning and decorating together. So all of our bouquets, our centerpieces, we did everything together. And this is the moment, not one of the moments, not the moments, that I knew that I was marrying the right person. So I was upstairs in my beauty room, and I was stressing out because I'm doing all of these floral arrangements and things. And he came upstairs and spent the rest of the night with me putting them together. Yeah. So he did all of the burlap, the burlap lace thing that we put around what do you call it? The handle of the bouquet?
I don't know.
Well, he helped me with all of that, all the centerpieces. He put all of the burlap around the centerpieces, hot glued them for me and everything. So
I'm a winner.
That was one of my favorite memories.
I'm kind of a big deal.
And then, of course, our wedding day was just amazing. Like, I didn't even think, after we got there, I didn't even think about anything else. What could have went wrong, whatever. And our children had an amazing time that day.
Yes.
I mean, so much so, shoes kicked off, jackets kicked off. I mean, they just had a great time. And so, to me, that was really a special moment together.
Yeah. I'm going to go with your typical guy answer, and it's going to revolve around sports. One of my favorite memories we are both Eagles fans. I am a born and bred Eagles fan. She was adopted into the family, and she took to it like a champ. Like, she is almost as diehard as I am. So when the Eagles had their run a few years back, we were stationed at Dover, which is right outside of Philadelphia. So when they made the NFC Championship game, and we had been going to games, we tried to hit maybe 2 or 3 games a year. So we had been going to games, and they made the NFC Championship game, and I said, I missed the last one that happened back in like 2004 or something like that because I was stationed in England. So I was like, man, I'm right here. I don't want to miss this. So I said, hey, do you want to go to the game? And she was like, heck yeah, let's go to the game. And I'm like, you understand how expensive this is probably going to be. And she was like, I don't care, let's go. So we ended up getting out online. We ended up buying tickets. And yeah, we were lower level, maybe about 7 rows back. Mm-hmm. And we saw the Eagles win the NFC Championship game. And it was absolutely phenomenal. You want to talk about just a massive party and a city that was just like finally. And to be a part of that and be able to capture that. And then the fight song. And I mean, I still got videos in my phone that I watched that gives me chills. And to be able to spend that moment with you, like there couldn't have been anybody better.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I think what he loved even better is the day that we knew they were going to the NFC Championship, I went out and purchased the tickets when we had talked about it. And I did not hesitate. Went out, found the seats for about $620 a piece. And by the next day, they were going anywhere between $3,000 to $4,000
Facts.
So we end up getting it for a really good price and had a great time.
Yeah, because look, unfortunately, like we talked about, I love my kids, but we weren't missing that game. So I appreciate, well, the kids appreciate you saving that money because I would have dipped into their college funds.
All right.
So we got next question. Madeline. Madeline asks, how do you keep each other motivated while also being able to give your husband and or wife constructive feedback?
I'm not going to say we're always the best at giving each other constructive feedback. I will say, was it my go?
Apparently so.
You asked the question, so I'll go first, right?
Sure.
So I wouldn't say we are always the best at giving each other constructive feedback. I guess is really when emotions are not very high is when we're most receptive. And I'm going to say emotions, I mean like whether it be if something didn't go exactly the way we wanted it to go, if the outcome was maybe negative, right? We usually, if we talk, it's not always receptive. Let's just put it that way on both sides. Because if you guys don't know, Jason and I personally, we're both type A. So there's times where we're like, alpha, talking to each other is kind of rough. But when we're just having, good conversation and we are really talking about our lives and our futures, I think we do pretty well in doing that and giving ourselves constructive feedback. What do you think?
I laughed because, when you're like, when our emotions aren't high, and I'm like, when are our emotions not high? I think, so both of us understand that and this is kind of one of my favorite sayings, when our emotion goes up, our logic goes down. I will say this about motivating. There isn't anybody on the face of this earth that motivates me more than my wife. Second would be my children, and they don't specifically motivate me like they do from time to time, right? But just them being who they are motivates me. But the constructive feedback part, the one thing that I'd like to say is there is, again, nobody on the face of the earth that knows me better than she does, right? She sees the unfiltered. She sees everything. She knows every single flaw, every single quirk. Which sometimes causes feedback to come across rather personal. And sometimes it sucks. Yeah. And sometimes it hurts. But that doesn't mean it's not needed. So I appreciate that because while others may give me feedback, and they do, hers is coming from a place where there's nothing hidden, right? She knows everything about me, my deepest and darkest secrets. She knows what I'm capable of. And she knows what could stretch me. And when I come up short, which I do, she also lets me know. So I think it's kind of a fine line. It's a mixture.
I think it's actually kind of both in a way. You're talking about constructive feedback and keeping each other motivated. Even when we don't like the response that the other one gives, we know, like he said, it's from a place of love. It's a place from, both of our success contribute to our family success. And so we understand that. And so even if we don't like the response necessarily, I will say for the most part, we do listen to each other. So it may not hurt our ego at the moment, but the next day we're like, you know what? He is right or she's right. Maybe I do need to work on this. And so it acts as a place like a motivator. It motivates you because you have someone that's continuing to push you. But like I said, the key piece to that is that both of our success equates to our family success. And that's the most important thing to Jason and I is family success. And whatever he desires, whatever he wants to get after, I'm down. As because I will say Jason does a great job actually, at making sure that all his decisions are centered around family. So there's nothing that Jason wants to do that I'm like, now that's stupid. I'm like, hey, if you want to do, get it done. Let's go. I'm here for you. I back you up 100%. And he does the same for me.
Facts.
All right. So she also asked, who's more competitive?
Me.
That's true.
I'm more competitive.
That is true.
Nothing more needs to be said. You see how I just won that answer? Me. I'm more competitive. I don't care if it's a race. I don't care if it's who gets done faster in the morning. I don't care if it's Monopoly. It does not matter to me. I am more competitive.
let me tell you how competitive he is. I can have these great ideas for Christmas on what to get him, right? And he somehow will try to one-up me every single time. Every time.
I don't know about try. He somehow does one-up me every single time.
That's
and
true.
it happened again this year. It's just who I am. I win.
So that's how competitive he is. And she also asks, Base, y'all would like to PCS too if you could.
All right, so we're going to answer this, right? So again, we haven't talked about these questions. Like, I can see them written down, but we haven't conspired and came up with these questions. But let's see how in sync we are on like this question. What base will we go to? So on the count of three, just say the base. So 1, 2, 3, say the base. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Charleston. Like, and that's pretty much it. Charleston. We want to get to Charleston. Mm-hmm. There's just something about, I love the city. It's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's by the water. I want to retire by the water. I want to be one of those older guys that just hooks a boat to a truck and takes it out and drops it on the water and has my family and my kids and my grandkids. And Charleston for us is that dream spot.
Yeah.
And we have not been able to get there yet. So
that's true.
We're still trying though.
All right, so Shannon Lee, continuing with Facebook here, she asked, how do you deal with the neediness of your husband wanting your attention and time and the demands and long hours of the job? She said, I can ask this because Jason's just like Paul, which is her husband, in this way. So we'll tell you a little bit about Shannon Lee. She was actually my supervisor at one point. If I did not mention, Jason and I are both in the military. Well, you guys know about Jason, but I'm in the military as well. For those that know me, hello. But Shannon Lee also had the opportunity to work with Jason as well.
Yeah, we worked together handful of years ago, maybe four years ago, give or take. It's been that long. Yes, it has been that long. She was the career assistance advisor. I was the Airman Leadership School commandant. We actually had offices right next to each other. Shannon was a major sounding board in my life as I transitioned into that role, and I still have her can't make this shit up bucket that I still feel to this day with things that certain individuals do that you just can't make it up. So obviously this question's for you.
How do I deal with Jason's neediness? I don't.
Yeah, so first off, so for those that don't know me, that are just listening and maybe only know the Linwood side, Shannon is 100% spot on. I am needy.
That is true. You are very needy. I do, but I don't. I say that because I get on him all the time, and he doesn't care. He just does it anyway. Perfect example, phone, right? He can not answer his phone. He's like in the middle of a conversation with his commander or whoever, because he's good like that. If he's engaged in conversation, he won't answer the phone. Instead of like shooting me a text or something, he won't respond. He'll call me like hours later, and it's fine. I'm like, you know what? He's with someone. It is what it is. But when I don't answer the phone, it's like, why are you not answering the phone?
Why are you not answering?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Well, I'm your husband. Why are you not answering the phone? And I'm like, good Lord, Jason. I'm talking with someone. You should know what that means, right? You know what that's like. But I will say, I don't know if I've gotten used to it. I mean, you're not that bad, but you are pretty needy.
I am. So here's the deal. Let me be honest. This is a match made in heaven. I'm needy. She's a caregiver. It works.
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
So, because I'm gonna tell you right now, like, and Paul and Shannon are probably the same way. Like, Shannon is a caregiver. Like, she likes to take care of people. Yes, we understand it annoys them, but I honestly do feel that if I wasn't needy, right? Because like, I need her attention, I need her love, I need her affection, I need her to answer the damn phone when I call. But if I wasn't needy, I think she would feel like she didn't have anybody to take care of, in a sense.
Because I don't have 4 kids to take care of.
5.
Oh, and a man-child. A man-child.
5.
But I will say, everyone grew up differently. I grew up in a culture where the woman was the caregiver, and everyone required your attention. So I'm kind of used to that. So for me, yeah, I get annoyed sometimes, but it's not that big of a deal.
I do try not to be so needy.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
He has gotten better over the years. He has gotten better over the years. Although I will say the one thing that has not changed is my husband will not cook dinner at all. Like, he will text me or call me at 6 o'clock if I'm still at work speaking to my commander, like, when are you coming home? I'm hungry. And I'm like, there's McDonald's. Go get some food.
My cooking skills may not be up to par. I can make a mean ramen, maybe a grilled cheese.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Peanut butter and jellies.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that.
I can do those. Yeah, so I mean, if we want to eat the same 3 things over and over again, I will take over the cooking responsibilities. So, just saying.
Okay, next one. Kyle?
Kyle asks, who takes longer to get ready to leave the house?
I do.
Period. I know everybody sees all of this and thinks that this takes a lot of time.
I actually get up earlier than him just so I can get ready to leave the house for work.
It does take her longer.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that I'm like some quick in and out. That's just that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. So it does take me probably a little bit more than an average individual.
In a good day, 30 minutes. On a good day.
Yeah, that's if everything works out well.
Especially the hair.
Especially the hair. Especially the hair. But without a shadow of a doubt, it is my wife who takes longer every morning, every afternoon, every date night, everything.
Especially date night. So if we're going out, at least I will say I never make us late.
Facts.
Because what I'll do is I'll start getting ready probably an hour and a half to 2 hours before the time we're supposed to leave the house. So that way I can make sure that we're on time. Because that's one thing I don't do is late ever.
Yeah.
So,
huh?
Kyle, I do.
Yeah, because I know you thought it was me. All right, back to Shannon. Shannon says, how do you explain to your kids when work comes before an event of theirs, especially when they're younger? Ooh, that's a tough one.
So I will say the one advantage, and I'd hope that everyone that has the ability to do this does. The one thing I will say about Jason and I is that we are so invested in our family that our kids understand when both of us can't be there, but one of us will always be there. I think we've done a good job of doing that.
Yeah, I think it took a while to get to this point, right? We were physically separated, so we have a blended family. We were physically separated from some of the kids for the better part of 5 or 6 years. And by separated, I mean about 10 plus hours away. So we would literally turn and burn. We would drive 10 hours, stay there for a day, and then drive back. Mm-hmm. So over time, our kids understood, and now obviously we're a heck of a lot closer and loving life. But I think it took time to get to a point where our kids knew that we were engaged. Our kids knew that we were invested. Our kids knew that we would be at any and every single event that we could possibly be at. So if by any chance we couldn't be, they understood that it had to be for a good reason. We don't just willy-nilly just brush them off. And it took a while for them, through our actions, not just us running our mouths, right? I think that's a big difference to have that kind of level of trust that our kids have in us. It was built through our actions and making those long trips and not missing events, that now they understand, like, holy smokes, like if Dad and Miss Sherry can't make it for whatever reason, it has to be something major. There must be something going on. But that took a lot of experience, a lot of lessons learned to realize that and open our eyes. So we're lucky in that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kathy Nisley asked, how do you deal with the smart assness? So at first I was like, this is my question, but I think I can be a smart ass sometimes. Especially when he's working my nerves. But I ignore him. That's what I tend to, or I bite back when he gets smart.
Yeah, I don't know where this ignore stuff comes from. I don't ever remember being ignored.
I ignored you this morning in the car.
No, you bit back.
First.
Yeah, you bit back.
Before we got in the car.
It's funny. it's just who we are. People that don't know our relationship dynamic do not like us as a couple. Like when they see us from the outside looking in, we were really good friends before we ever started traveling down this path of relationship and marriage and stuff. So we treat each other like best friends,
Rough.
which means there are jabs, which means it's rough. Like Kathy, the one who asked this question, she just made the comment, maybe a week ago. She was like, yeah, when we first met y'all, we liked Sherry, we liked Jason, but we didn't like the Barnshaws together because they did not know who we were.
Yeah.
And they caught us interacting with each other in the way we banter from an outside perspective. And they were like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, look at the way he just said, did he just talk to her that way? And then she snapped back and oh my God, what kind of marriage is this? And now that they know us, they're some of our closest friends, but they understand who we are. And think about how you may jab or poke fun at your best friend. That's kind of how our marriage is. So when I think of the smart assness, I kind of just think that's us.
Yeah. I would say his cadre before we moved to the area that we live in now, they would say all the time. So as soon as we were around each other, we'd start bickering and bantering, and they're like, all right, let's get the popcorn. It's because that's just who we are. Like I told you before, we're both type A, so we're both strong-headed. He's always gonna be a smart ass. I'm not gonna let him, just say whatever. So I gotta be a smart ass in return. But if you know us, you'll know when, like, if we're really upset with each other or if it's just us being our normal day.
I will tell you, if we are really upset with each other, we won't talk.
Yeah.
That's how you know. If we're, like, seriously arguing, we won't communicate.
I won't even come around him.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, see you when I come home.
Yeah. Like, that's how you know. Like, if stuff ain't right in our household, we not talking. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of anything that we don't argue like that.
No. We like an argument, we don't really argue that often.
No. Bicker.
We bicker, I mean, especially in the mornings, because he's not a morning person at all.
I used to be.
You see this cheery, positive person on the channel all the time? Yeah, he's not like that first thing in the morning.
I am not. I used to be, but I think somebody sucked that out of me.
Okay, next.
All right, so now we're moving to IG. Demondo, my man. Demondo asked, being mill to mill. So we mentioned that we're mill to mill. So Demondo is mill to mill as well. He said, being mill to mill as well, how has it affected your career with so much uncertainty as you climb up the ranks with more responsibilities and balancing home life? That's a good question.
Yeah. So I will say, knock on wood, we have yet to not be together. What do you mean?
We weren't together like the first year and a half of
Actually, we weren't together when we first got married, but that was before we got married.
Yeah.
The mill to mill piece is after we got married. So what he's saying is, when him and I got married, and I told you before, a story for another time, we actually got married by proxy. He was deployed overseas for a year. I was actually deployed to DC at the time. Yes, I was deployed. My record says contingent deployment. Or contingency deployment.
In a 4-star Marriott.
He's still better.
Barry.
That was many, many years ago. But in terms of assignments, I think so far we've been able to. Now, we did have a scare about 3 years ago when I became a first sergeant. I actually got orders to move to another base, but he was coded and he was in place for 4 years at the base that we were at previously to this. And so thank God for the command chief at the time, who was the highest enlisted person on the base. She actually worked it so that we were able to stay together. However, I will say it's getting tougher and tougher.
Yes.
Right? It is getting harder to stay at the same location. The good thing for me is that I'm junior ranking to him, so he's the one that drives everything. And for the most part, I should be able to follow him with my job, with my primary job. IT, comm, I'm able to go to almost any base, including other services. So go ahead.
We had a really good mentor sit us down about 5 or 6 years ago, and she looked at both of us and she said, sooner or later, you're going to have to make a decision. Mm-hmm. Because I think at that point she understood where the trajectory of our careers were going. And I mean, we're there now. And Demondo, like, I know you are not at this point yet, right? But I am over 20 years. So we sat down and we had a very, very candid conversation about what happens if we are to be separated? What happens if we are to be asked to move maybe away from the kids? What happens if these things in our careers happened and we made the decision, and I'll just say it, if the Air Force puts me, because I am the higher ranking at the moment, if the Air Force puts me in a situation where I have to choose between the Air Force and my family, I'm not thinking hard.
Yeah.
Right? I will hit the retirement button and I will roll out. I have sacrificed a lot over my career. She has sacrificed a lot over her career. And we're just at a point right now where I'm over retirement, age, if you will, age in the or career. So if it gets to that point, I'll hit the button and retire. Yeah. I mean, I'm not ready to take my uniform off, but I think you and your wife need to sit down and have this conversation and work out kind of worst case scenario. What happens? What step do we take next? Yep. What happens if this happens, or X, Y, and Z, and plan that out. That way, if it does, heaven forbid, happen, you at least already have a head start on the planning or action piece of it. Don't wait until it smacks you in the face, right, to start, because then the stress is already ratcheted up and, you could potentially make the wrong decision.
That's one thing I will say is we do a good job at communicating like our wants, our needs, our goals, our family goals. And like I told you before, we're very centered on family, and we do not make decisions without each other. We don't make decisions without family in mind, because that is the most important thing to us. But I will say that we do a good job, as well as pretty much planning out any kind of scenario that you can possibly think of. Yeah. Right. So I like Jason told you before, I am a forward thinker. I'm a planner. I want to know what does our life look like in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. And we try our best to kind of map out like every possible scenario and what does that look like for us, and what are we both comfortable with in terms of our careers and our family and things like that. So I definitely would recommend that to you and anybody that's watching. You don't have to be in the military, but one career doesn't have to take the back burner for the other. You can do it together. You can push each other. You can support each other. It does get difficult at times, but doesn't mean that it's impossible. So.
And lastly, I want to touch on the balancing home life. One of the biggest lies we tell people, or people hear, is this work-life balance, right? Because when you think of balance, you think of something perfectly equal, perfectly balanced. I don't think that's ever going to be attainable. There's going to be times where you invest more in your family than you do at work. Mm-hmm. There's going to be times, majority of the time, where it feels like you're investing more in work than you are family. I think what the goal should be is work-life harmony, work-life integration. When we have something going on, like let's say I have something going on in my squadron, I'll invite Sherry, I'll invite the kids, and we'll make it a family event. I want my family to be a part of my career. And that's that work-life harmony that I'm talking about. I don't think we'll ever achieve balance, but if you keep working on harmony and integration, I think it'll really help decrease some of the stress that y'all feel going forward.
Yeah, it's like making sure that the scales just don't go off kilter too much.
Facts. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, next up, we got, did I read the last one or did you?
I did. So we have Southern Sun
from IG. Yep. All right, so before we even get into this, right, Southern Sun asked us to do something special. So I wanted to take a moment to stop, pause before we read his great question. And we got somebody to wish a happy birthday to.
Yep.
So.
Ready?
No, go ahead. You're the lady.
Oh. Happy birthday, Eden. I hope you spend what?
No, I'm just laughing.
An amazing time on your birthday, that you get everything that you hoped and you wished for on that day, and we're excited for you.
Yeah, honestly, your husband said, look, I don't even care if you answer my question. Please give my amazing wife a shout out.
Yes.
Right? So happy birthday. I think it is awesome that not only is this, Couples Day and Marriage Day and Valentine's Day, but it's also special because it is your birthday. You have a great husband because he made sure that we understood that and that we wished you a happy birthday. So happy birthday, Eden. All right, on to the question.
Me.
You.
So Southern Sun says, I'm a newlywed and my wife and I have different styles of handling disagreements. Mine is a hot one, wanting to conquer the problem and push through right then and there. Hers is more of a code style. She sometimes prefers to disengage in the moment to preserve her peace, then revisit. What are y'all's disagreement styles like? And he asked another question, but we'll touch that in a minute.
Yeah. So our styles are hot and hot, hot and hotter.
Not all the time. I will say he says hot and hot. I'm more so of the one that wants to solve the problem right now. Jason is more so the person who doesn't want to deal with it right now and much rather just talk about it when we're more level-headed, which is a good thing, right? So when we say hot and hot, Jason is more hot-headed than I am. I think I'm a little bit more calmer even when I'm upset. And I want to just, let's talk about it. Let's fix it. Let's just be done. He's like, I'm upset right now. I don't want to talk. Let's just talk later. So in the beginning, I would say I didn't do a very good job. I pushed and pushed and pushed, and I wanted to fix it right now. But as we've grown together and learned each other, you know, I think I do a better job in understanding, hey, he doesn't want to talk about it right now. I want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it in depth. So if I want him to talk, then I think it's best to just allow him to cool down and we can touch back on that topic at a later time. And it's not always the same day. Sometimes it's the next day or even the weekend if it's on a weekday. But I think we do a good job of doing that.
Yeah, so you remember how I said earlier, you know, when my emotions go up, my logic goes down. That to me, like, you have understood that better and you've given me an opportunity to cool down because I can't solve a problem when my emotions are screaming at an all-time high. So for me to calm down, maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe it's 5 hours. But she, at first, as she alluded to, was not good at that. She wanted to talk and discuss and go in depth. And when I'm emotional, I tune out, right? I'm not picking up what you're trying to put down, so we're not fixing anything. So over time, she's gotten to realize that about me. I've also realized on my side that when she comes to me with a problem, and I don't think this is a man thing. I think that some people are just problem solvers, right? I want to solve the problem immediately. She can come to me with anything. She can come to me just telling me about her day and I'm trying to fix problems. Sometimes I just need to shut up and listen. Mm-hmm. One of the best books that she made me read is The 5 Love Languages. And I think that helped me communicate with her a little bit better on when we're going into a disagreement. The goal should be to come out with a mutual understanding, which means it's almost like a negotiation, which means I can't be so stubborn and bullheaded that I'm trying to push you into something. I need to negotiate, if you will, on her terms. How is she seeing things? Well, you know, what's going through her mind? And maybe I can connect with her on that way so we can come to an agreement on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so we're both hot and hot sometimes. Sometimes we're hot and cold. It really just all depends on the topic and how we're feeling in the moment. But I think for the most part, to kind of wrap that up, we've done a really good job in making sure that we don't make the argument get too bad. Hence the reason why we say we rarely argue anymore. Anymore. And we do a good job at coming together at a later time and really talking about our problems. That way we can get through the problems and not just allowing it to pile and pile and pile. Because that's when explosions really happen. And it's never good for a marriage or any kind of relationship, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so if you're going into it hot and trying to conquer or solve the problem, I would recommend that you just take a step back. Give her some space, right? There's going to be opportunities where she comes in maybe a little hot. But if she's logical and she wants to sit back and sometimes disengage, that's just her letting you know that mentally, I'm not ready to discuss this yet. So for you, the best thing to do would, in my opinion, would be just to step back a little bit, give her time. And when she's ready to come discuss, be ready then at a more logical eye-to-eye type of thing. But take it from me. You know, I too am hot. I too am a conqueror. Sometimes our wives just need us to shut up and listen. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to learn that.
So I'm going to answer your second question here in a minute, but I do want to take a pause to say, if you have never read The 5 Love Languages, I highly recommend that book. And I will tell you, it really has helped the two of us learning how to communicate with each other and not through each other. And that's oftentimes what happens with couples when they're arguing. They're just talking at each other and they're not really understanding what the other person is saying. Because if you ever really take a step back and listen to what the person is saying, it'll tie into the love language that they are that I guess that you really fall into.
Their default,
so for example, mine is acts of service, and 9 times out of 10, what am I arguing with? I need help. I need, you know, I need you to do this while I'm doing that. The other, for him, it's words of affirmation and quality time. And 9 times out of 10, the arguments we're having is centered around his love language. When it pertains to him, and he's the one that started the argument. When he's the one that's upset about something, it's usually centered around the love languages. All right, so the second question that Southern Sun had was, what strategies do y'all use to come back together after the day is done?
Ooh, I don't necessarily think that we have a strategy. Like, if I'm being honest with you, we have some disagreements that last 2, 3, 4 days. I guess the one strategy I'd say we do have is we never, ever go to bed angry.
That's true.
Ever. We have been together for a while, and I can count on one hand with fingers left over how many times we've gone to sleep and haven't done our ritual. And our ritual is saying I love you.
Yep.
And kissing each other 3 times.
Yes. I don't know how that started, but
I don't know either. But seriously, in the years and years and years that we have been married, there may be 2 or 3 times where we were together, you know, not separated or something like that, but where we were together and did not do that.
Yep.
And I think that if you're looking for a strategy, that's probably our strategy, is we never go to bed angry. Mm-hmm. We may go to bed still holding on to the disagreement.
Yeah, it's like, love you too.
Right. But yeah, so that I think that would be the strategy.
Yeah. And like we talked about earlier when we said that sometimes, you know, we'll leave each other alone when we're upset. I will say we do a good job at coming together and apologizing. It's not necessarily to say who's wrong or who is right, but more so when you get, you know, when you're in an argument and you get upset and emotions are flying, you tend to say things that you don't mean often. And so we usually come back and make sure that we apologize, especially with Jason, because like I told you before, his love language is words of affirmation, right? And if I say mean things, then I know that for him, he's going to take some of those things to heart sometimes. And I try to come back and apologize for those things.
Yeah, people think I have an ego, but I really don't, because she shatters it every day.
Oh my God. All right, moving on. All right, so Vincent.
Yep, Vincent hit us up and said, what is the biggest piece of advice towards relationships in the military, whether or not it's mil to mil, this is military married to other military, or military married to civilian?
I would say the biggest advice, whether you're mil to mil or mil to civilian, is do everything as a team. The one thing I will say with Jason and I is we do a very good job in including each other in whether it be our careers or our personal things. We do include each other in those things. So doing everything as a team, as much as you can, to me, makes everyone feel like you're in it together. And that would be my biggest advice. Yeah,
one of the coolest things. So, you know, we both have our own individual careers, and they've been relatively successful. Yeah. One of the coolest things to me is that we're known not as Sherry and Jason, or, you know, sergeant or chief or first sergeant or whatever. We're known as Team Barnshaw.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that people, and that's not something we came up with.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of the way we carry ourselves and the way we champion each other and the way, honestly, we're always together.
We are, as much as we can be. I mean, for example, last Thursday I had something going on, and I told him, I said, hey, I really like for you to be here, and he canceled everything for the rest of the day, and he was there.
Facts.
I will say, Jason and I are our biggest supporters. You will not find any other bigger or better cheerleader than Jason for me or me for Jason. So my biggest advice would be to do everything as a team. Decide everything as a team. Have good times as a team. The bad times as a team.
Yeah. As far as the military civilian, one of the things that I think we lose sight on is being married military to military. Obviously, there's a level of understanding. You know, hey, I have to work late because of X, Y, or Z. A military person understands that. They understand that we're on call. They understand probably what you do in your day in and day out job. A civilian, on the other hand, might not have that knowledge base or experience. So I always recommend to people that are military married to civilians, again, the teamwork part, but incorporate them into your lives, like your military lives. Bring them to work. Allow them to meet maybe some of your airmen or your supervisors or your leaders, so they understand what you're doing on a day in and day out basis. That way, when you say, hey, you know, I'm going to have to work a little late tonight, they understand the reasoning why behind it. I don't think we do a lot of that. And there are a lot of our civilian spouses are in the dark, you know, for lack of better words, on some of the things that we do.
Yeah, and I would say I understand that there are some civilian spouses that don't want to be a part of that. So I would say bring that to them, right? So if they don't want to come to the base and partake in the things that are going on in your units, bring it home. I know we like to say, hey, don't talk about work when you go home. But in fact, Jason and I do talk about work because it helps us engage in what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So I'd say for your military spouses that are not, your military spouses that are not in the military, your civilian spouses, talk to them about what's going on so that they understand a little bit better, you know, why you got to stay late or whatever the case is. But also on the flip side of that, bring them to the things that you got going on in your unit as well. I think that will help them feel more part of the team versus you are just being in the military and their, you know, spouses.
All right, Vincent also asked, did you guys ever face, and how did you overcome the fear or possibility of both being in the military and getting separated due to orders, PCS, TDY, humanitarian, and deployments? Ooh, so I will tell you, we have had to deal with this. We've been lucky enough never to be stationed apart. But yeah, I've been deployed for a year.
I deployed twice.
She's deployed twice. One time she was deployed, and then I got hit for a mandatory training that I could not get out of.
Yeah.
So what do we do with the kids? So that was a difficult one. I think one of the things that really helps us get through this is obviously the connection with each other. Our communication, while one of us is gone, is through the roof. Like, I think we talk more when we're separated than when we do when we're together. So that helps, but also the support system we have. We have been very blessed to have individuals in our lives, whether or not they're stationed with us or even from a distance, that when we face these type of challenges, we lean on them. Perfect example, Sherry was deployed. I got hit for a 6-week class that I had to go to. So what are we doing with the kids, right? She's deployed. I got to go 12 hours away. We actually leaned on a friend of the family's, one of the guys I work with, and he actually took care of our daughter for 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that to us was huge, and it was a major weight lifted off of our shoulders.
Yeah. In terms of fear, I wouldn't say we fear having to do anything like TDYs or any of that kind of stuff. Jason and I, we love the Air Force. We love what we do. We know that there's going to be a lot asked of us, and oftentimes it's for the betterment of us, right? So that we could be better leaders in our units. So I don't think we fear so much because we know what we committed to. It's more so, hey, what is the plan? What are we going to do if we deploy? Back to planning again, right? What are we going to do if we deploy? And when the time comes, you know, this time Jason's told me plenty of times, hey, I may have to do this. I'm like, okay, go do it. It's not going to break our marriage, right? Because Jason told you we communicate a lot. And in terms of the fear thing, I don't think we fear it, as opposed to when it comes up, what's the plan? What are we going to do?
Yeah. One of the things, you know, fear, what is it? Face everything and rise, right? I love that acronym of fear. That's what we do. We face everything head on. And I'm at a point, you know, and I'm probably sure you can echo this. If you don't echo it, we'll probably just edit it out of the video. There's not much our marriage cannot withstand. And that to me gives me comfort that no matter what the Air Force and or life throws, like, man, we're ready to knock that shit out of the park.
Yeah. Shoot, in 16, 17, I was gone every 3 weeks.
Ugh.
I'll be gone for a week, come back for 3 weeks, gone for another week. Gone. I mean, I was TDY every month for at least a week, for a whole year. So.
And my cooking came into play because I took care of everybody.
No, he didn't. He made me make the dinner and freeze it. That's what he made me do. Just like when I deployed. All right, so hopefully that answered your question. We're gonna go ahead and move on to Love is Love for Real.
Love is love.
Asked, with so much divorce in the military, what made you want to take that jump with actually getting married?
So, little bit peek behind the curtain. We have both been previously married.
Yes.
So we understand a divorce and we understand divorce rates in the military. Yes, both of us have been married before. Both of us have been divorced before, and both of us are now currently remarried. So with that, I think, to really answer the question, going through divorce and understanding how hard it was on the family, how hard it was on us individually, it took a lot of healing. I know we both brought a little bit of baggage into this marriage that we had to address up front. We were very transparent. But when it really comes down to it, and I look at it, and I'm just like, man, when you find that person that kind of completes you, right? As cheesy as that sounds, you complete me.
Oh my God!
Right, dude, I think you go for it, right? There's a thing, and I think a lot for me, us being friends prior to traveling down this relationship course, I think helped tremendously, because we already had an understanding of each other. So. I knew when I met this fine young woman.
Oh my goodness.
That I wasn't going to let her go.
Yeah.
So getting married for me, even though I have the experience of getting divorced, was never a thought.
That's true. Actually, we were only dating for a couple of months, and he texted me one day and was like, "I'm gonna marry you one day," and then that was it. It wasn't part of the conversation. He said, "I'm gonna marry you one day." I was like, "Oh, okay." Not his proposal, but it was just a regular conversation.
Swept her off.
In terms of fear of jumping in, I will say when you marry your best friend, right? And I know this is going to sound super cheesy. When you marry your best friend, I don't think there's really a question, right? Like, as much as he annoys me, it's one of those marriages where I love him always, but I don't like him most days.
Facts.
Right? I don't like him most days. But I know we have a lot of the same qualities, or actually have qualities that we want in each other. And we were just talking about this a few days ago, where we complement each other very well. And his areas of improvements are my strengths, and my areas of improvements are his strengths. And so we capitalize on that. So in terms of, the divorce thing, I look at it this way. If you always plan for the worst, you're never going to get the best.
And
right?
She got the best.
Oh, gosh. Meaning, if you're always looking at the divorce rates or the what ifs, right, then you're never going to be able to enjoy the moment. And for us, it wasn't, hey, we've been through divorce before, this can happen again. It's, I love you, and let's not even worry about what could happen in the future. We work right now, so let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, and look, if that would have happened, which, I think both of us agree it's not going to happen, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm a look, jump feet first. Let's go. So, all right, next question. I can't remember who's reading it. This is actually the last question.
It. With being middle to male, have you ever felt like you were in competition with your spouse? If so, how did you deal with it?
Nope, not one time. I wish I could speak to this, but there has never, outside of the competition one that we answered earlier in the episode, we compete when it doesn't have to do with our careers. When it has to do with our careers, there is zero competition.
Yeah.
She has had years and multiple years where she has shined and excelled, and maybe I haven't. I've had years where I've shined and excelled, maybe she hasn't. But again, to go back to how you answered the previous question, like, we're a team. So if you win, I win.
That's right.
And if I win, you win, and then the whole family wins.
Yeah.
So I don't care who's winning on Team Barnshaw, as long as somebody's damn winning.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
That was the last question.
That was it?
Yeah, that was it.
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
You don't have anything about competition?
I think you hit the nail on the head. We don't ever compete with each other, in a sense that, Like what I told you before, Jason and I are each other's biggest supporters. And, you know, if he gets promoted and the same year I don't get promoted, I don't look at it as I lost. I mean, I still won, right? It's the same, vice versa.
Because she gets to spend the money anyway.
Oh my gosh, I spent my own money, okay, for the last time. So no, I don't think we look at it as a competition as opposed to us, like our team winning.
Yeah.
Right? That's how we always look at things, is our team is winning, regardless who's the one that's shining at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, touche. So, all right, huge shout out to everybody who asked a question. Thank you so much. Catalyst of Development signing off. As always, keep searching for that code to unlocking your truest potential. Happy Valentine's Day out there. Happy Valentine's Day, my love. Mwah. We will make sure to tag all y'all in this. This was actually really fun. So if you want to continue to keep doing this, let us know.
Let us know. Definitely.
All right. This is us signing out.